Hello again, it's the 25th of August 2021. It's time for us to look at what the papers are reporting this Wednesday. Majeed Dahiru is our reviewer for this morning. Majeed, welcome. Good morning.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
I don't know if it's really a very good morning anyway.
At least you put up
all
a
the
smile
things.
then
Oh, yes.
you would have done. You would not smile.
You would smile. All right, let's look at what the papers are reporting, then we'll discuss the issues.
Yeah, Daily Sun is starting with fury over terror attack at NDA, ACF, YCE, Ohaneze. Others express outrage as 2 officers are killed. Major abducted. Our security architecture was compromised, says NDA spokesman. CDS is not banditry but robbery attack, and that's on page 7.
The Daily Trust, why NDA security was compromised. Bandits leave peacefully near Academy. Majority of troops posted elsewhere. Soldiers on guard mysteriously fell asleep. Invasion, a huge embarrassment. Expert. Interesting way Daily Trust captured the story. Details brought to you on page 5. Of course, accompanying photo shows you the NDA itself, the physical facility where the attack took place. And also PDP crisis after court ordered 2 deputies claim secondary seat on page 25.
Nigerian Tribune says shock as bandits kill 2 military officers, abduct 1 inside NDA. I think a lot of papers will run this as their lead story. But let's look at the bottom page story there. Insurgency, 10% of Borno population missing. Zulum says 100,000 killed in Northeast in 12 years on page 3.
The Nigerian pilot leads with bandits dare military. Bold. In red there, invade Nigerian Academy, Defense Academy, kill 2 officers, abduct 1 other. Details are brought to you on page 8 of the paper. And 6 Islamia school pupils have died in captivity. This according to the school authorities. The story is on page 8.
On Nigerian News Direct, 2 soldiers killed, 1 other abducted as bandits attack NDA. Military begins manhunt. I think there's a new angle to that. Nigerians have lost hope in Buhari, APC or Logbo. Dion speaks as the writing story there. But above the masthead, let's look at infrastructure decay, due process key to access financing by TED Fund Provost, and that's on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune.
The blueprint is next. Attack on NDA shows nation security on reverse gear, quoting the Arawa Consultative Forum, ACF. El-Rufai empathizes with NDA, families of slain officers. Stories on page 6. And still on PIA, Kiari experts differ on implementation of host communities fund.
The Daily Times looks at insecurity, apprehension trails bandits attack on NDA, and that's Kaduna attack, a national embarrassment, says ACF. Let's look at another one there. It says nowhere is safe. Sheikh Hussaini as Kaduna Government Assembly Speaker condemn attack.
The New Telegraph leads with the attack on the NDA as well. But let's look at other headlines on the front page of this paper. Rejecting surrender terrorists will escalate into insurgency. That's the governor of Borno State speaking there. So as many are underage women. Also on the front page of this paper, assembly plant FG Parley's aircraft manufacturer, malls full production.
This day also looks at the military, says shock, anger trail, daredevil attack on Nigeria's elite military university. And the writers there also say military launches manhunt for assailants. But let's look at that other story on reserves. Tom Buhari making grazing roads reserves condition for peace. And that's on page 12.
Let's look at the leadership newspaper. Expectedly, CEO writes, runs with the attack on the NDA facility in Kaduna, but it's taking it from the angle of what's happening afterwards. Says security forces comb Kaduna environs for killers, abductors of army officers. This paper is also reporting states give FG conditions for review of grazing reserves.
And the Punch is still looking at the NDA. Let's look at another story there, just above the Punch masthead. And PDP splits as 2 chairmen emerge. Wike Secondus divide party officers. Anti-Secondus faction fixes emergency NEC meeting for Friday. Protest at PDP headquarters on page 10.
And the Daily Independent We are in a perplexing situation as a nation. That's quoting Tunde Bakare. Says nothing wrong if a northerner succeeds Buhari in 2023. It's also reporting surrendered 2,600 insurgents have created humanitarian crisis, quoting the governor of Borno State there, and also says not all surrendered insurgents are criminals.
And Daily Assets is still looking at outrage as bandits overrun NDA Kaduna. It's an assault on Nigeria's territorial integrity. Kaduna speaker killed 2, abduct 1's another riding story there. But let's also look at 2023. Buhari will hand over to PDP. Article boast on page 23 there. And on page 5, insurgency, 10% of our people unaccounted for. And that is coming from Zulum. Well, People's Daily still looking at insurgency in Borno. Over 100,000 killed in 12 years. Governor Zulum says 10% of population can't be accounted for. 2,600 or 26,000, I don't know what they meant to write, surrendered insurgents in custody, and that's coming from People's Daily. But I think bottom page story as well, police lose officer vigilante in gun battle with bandits, again, in Plateau, there on bottom page story.
All right, let's look at the Nation newspaper now. A military launches manhunt for officers abductors at NDA. DHQ, they're sneaked in after breaching the perimeter fence, security compromise. This paper is also reporting PIA 1-year take-off plans trenched to law, says Kiari. All right, so much we can take there.
And sports, Utibe, this day.
Okay. Osimhen slammed with 2-match ban, fined 2 million. That's Nigeria's star was straight with Napoli in Italy to miss Napoli's clash with Cristiano Ronaldo's Juve. Also, Dahiru, 3 other ministers host Nigeria's triumphant under-20 contingent. And then Business Day is looking at citizens helpless as bandits humiliate Nigeria's military. And you also find there low pay, poor compliance, denying retirees pension benefit. And that's on page 20 of Business Day. Some other stories there as well. Do we have another one there? All right. Okay, let's discuss the issues. Expectedly, Abdul Majeed, that attack on the NDA in Kaduna dominating all the papers. Definitely the biggest story of the day. That's on Tuesday, spilling over till today. We've seen how the papers have captured it, but let's talk about that attack itself. Shocking?
Yes.
Embarrassing?
Shocking, and I'm also shocked that the president has not released a statement expressing shock
as usual
over this very shocking and embarrassing incidents.
Maybe he's shocked.
Because I don't know if you know the NDA facility, the Nigerian Defense Academy, very well. I'm still trying to, fathom how this happened. What sort of a breach would have happened to such an extent that officers, not rank and file, officers.
These are officers, major.
A major is a mid-cadre officer, or in fact, in some instances, a senior officer was adopted. One was killed. A flight lieutenant was also killed. I don't know. And as Business Day reported it, Nigerians, it's as if we are helpless, because if those that are supposed to protect us are under attack. And we are still arguing. We are still trying to situate those that are responsible for this. They say we shouldn't call them terrorists. They say it's farmer herders clashes. They are saying it is
armed robbery. It's
armed robbery. They are bandits. These same people brought down a fighter jet.
And we seem to have forgotten glossed over it by now.
These same people attack police formations. They kill soldiers regularly. Forget about the civilian targets. That one is as if it's normal now. And yesterday, they attacked Nigeria's foremost military training institute, the Nigerian Defense Academy, one of the best in Africa. The Defense Academy in Nigeria usually, help train soldiers in other countries. So if you go to the academy, you see cadets from different, African countries. Such is the prestige of the Nigerian Defense Academy. And this set of people that are operating in this state, Kaduna State, for example, gain access. Because if you know what it takes to get an officer in the Nigerian army, an officer, I mean, you know the number of rank and file to get to an officer. Do you know what it takes to get an officer of the Nigerian army? You know how many years he spent in the academy or she spent in the academy? Do you know what the government spends to produce one officer? One. And we lost two, and one was abducted. And I'm told that they have caught the money for ransom. It's unfortunate. I don't know. I'm depressed, really. I don't know how to begin this analysis from. I don't know. Because we've been talking about these things over and over again. And the silence, the pin drop silence from the president of the country. By yesterday evening, Mr. President should have addressed the nation, giving marching orders to all security agencies to go in and crush herdsmen terrorists. He should call it by its name. He should give it the designation that it more than deserves. These people have shown enough courage. They have been emboldened because this government is still treating this whole issue as farmer herders clash. And I'm asking, what has NDA or a fighter jet got to do with farmer herders clashes? And an enterprise that has grown, that has become a multi-billion naira criminal franchise. I'm talking about over 3 billion naira ransom paid in between 2 years in Zamfara alone, between 2018 and 2020. And you think the person is willing to drop his AK-47 and then go and start breeding cattle somewhere, even if it transforms the entire Nigeria into grazing routes or grazing reserves? Why is the president and commander-in-chief, the man we elected to secure our lives and properties, why is he not having the political will to deal with an issue that is actually, that has rendered his own home region, his own home states, into a terrorist playground? In fact, the governor of Katsina has thrown up his hands into the air and said, look,
defend yourself.
Go and get arms, go and get arms. And when he was even challenged, he said, look, I reiterate it, go and defend yourself. I'm talking about the president's own home state. And all the president is concerned about is trying to revive
grazing reserves.
From where to where? Where are these grazing reserves? Where are these grazing routes? Is that the issue?
It's laughable, and at the
No,
same
it's not
time
laughable.
also
It is sad. It is sad.
No, I'm even talking sarcasm here. It's laughable because I mean, if you look at what these so-called armed bandits have done, Majeed, in the past 6 months, they've taken out daring attacks much more than the Boko Haram have done. Like you said, they brought down a fighter jet. Boko Haram only bragged that he brought down a fighter jet and he never did. But the bandits have brought down a fighter jet. They've abducted hundreds of students. And the audacity to move into a defense academy, the prestigious NDA in Kaduna,
And escape.
like you said, and walk away.
And escape.
They moved
And
in,
escape.
killed,
And took away,
somebody,
a major. Took away a major
went
in the
back.
army.
And what we're hearing is that, okay, we've set up a search team to comb the forest and search for them. I mean, who is safe anymore
And
in
I'm saying
Nigeria?
our president did not deem this assault grievous enough to address the nation last night. You know, I am beginning to lose hope. I'm beginning to lose faith in this entire process. I say this because this whole thing started in Benue and Plateau. When this same set of people killed 72 people in one day, after several weeks of asking the president to at least go there and pay a condolence visit and at least talk tough, he went there first. He feigned ignorance. They didn't know his IGP of police, whom he told to go to Benue, didn't come there. I mean, the commander-in-chief saying he did not know that an IG of police he asked to go to a location, didn't go there until after almost a month later. Okay, and when he actually went there, what was it that the president said? Learn to live with each other in peace. With who? And the then Minister of Defense, Masud Ali, who is incidentally from Zamfara State, made the audacious statement that The reason for the killings in Benue is the anti-open grazing law. And the grazing of block across the country, and so what do you want them to do? Meaning he has justified the killings of this group of terrorists on the basis of a law that was passed by the State Assembly. He justified the killing and took ownership for this terrorism on behalf of the cattle breeding community in Nigeria. That was the implication. So when they accused the media of profiling the Fulanis, it is Masoud Ali. It is Governor El-Rufai who said, look, I paid them money because they mobilized from all over West Africa to come and kill in my state. So I paid them money to stop killing because I am one of them. These are the people that they should hold responsible, and not us, not the media.
And then you look at the statement from Otom saying that it's almost as if that is the only, platform where you can have peace by accepting the grazing reserve.
No, it's a blackmail that will not work. Yeah. Let us say this. The president should realize that it is his own home region, because he has identified severally. The president has told us severally in his last interview, said, I am Fulani. I want to remind the president that his own fellow Fulanis, his own fellow Northerners are the biggest victims of herdsmen terrorists as we speak. They are the biggest victims. But unfortunately, when other Nigerians speak about the effect of these same terrorist activities in their own part of the country, the presidency is quick to issue statements denouncing them, talking down on them, and berating them for speaking out. When the governor of Ondo said, look, leave my forest. None of human being stays in the forest. You are not an animal. You don't stay in the forest. The presidency did a statement and said it was unconstitutional. But when the emir of Muri in Taraba State issued the same threat on Eid Day, the presidency didn't say anything. They glossed over it. How can we have double standards in the country, in the highest authority in the land, and you expect peace? Let me remind these people, sir, they should know one thing today. Sudan had the same problem. When camel herders, Arab camel herders from Chad, moved into Sudan in the 80s, during the Chadian Civil War, they went into, of course, because they came with their herds of cattle, a herd of camel. So there was a struggle for, of course, land resources by the sedentary communities, non-Arab sedentary communities in Western Darfur. The Arab rulers of Sudan took sides with their cousins from Chad. They took sides so much so that when Omar al-Bashir became the president of Sudan, he funded and empowered these same people in their struggle for land with the sedentary community in Western Darfur. He funded them and they formed the Janjaweed militia. The Janjaweed militia carried out genocidal attacks backed by the government of Sudan against fellow citizens that are non-Arabs. So imagine the leadership of a country supporting aliens into his country to kill his fellow citizens that are not of his ethnicity or race. That was the situation in Sudan. But guess what? When Southern Sudan broke away from Sudan with their oil, and Umar al-Bashir had no more money to actually maintain his hold on power, you saw the revolts in Sudan, you saw the protests.
Yes.
By this time, Omar al-Bashir had incorporated the Janjaweed militia into the Sudanese army. He created a unit for them and made the leader of the Janjaweed militia, Mohammed Dagolo, he made him a brigadier general. Mohammed Dagolo, by the way, was a primary 3 dropout from school. He came in with his parents as a child into Chad to sell, to Sudan from Chad to sell camel. Was a camel trader and a camel herder. He made him a brigadier general in the Sudanese army because Omar al-Bashir placed his race, his Arab race and ethnicity over and above his nationality, his Sudanese nationality. So he marginalized other people, he suppressed other people, and elevated killers, tolerated them, funded them, and elevated them into the army, and made a dropout, a brigadier general in the Sudanese army, a primary 3 dropout, and named him Hameti, my protector. And he gave so much prominence to that unit in the Sudanese army over and above the regular army. Guess what? When the protest started in Sudan, it was that same unit that became so powerful that overthrew his government. His protector of yesterday, Muhammad Dagolo, is the jailer today.
Became the hunter.
The rulers of Sudan today are former Janjaweed militiamen.
A perfect description of the monster you created.
The monster we are creating today.
This is a monster that is budding.
Happens today to Nigeria's unity, because if there's a threat to Nigerian unity that is more than any other threat in the history of Nigeria, it is the cow war we are fighting today. It is this issue of grazing route, cattle route. We are calling it a cow war. Nigeria is fighting a cow war today. If anything happens to the unity of this country, and God forbid, there is no longer flow of oil money to the north, your region, Mr. President, will fall under the control of killer herdsmen. They become the rulers of this region.
But Majeed, let's come back to some of the headlines which is tied to what you're saying, especially with the Boko Haram and call for amnesty. You know, you have spoken about how these people took over the army and took over the country in Sudan. And here you see the governor, the Zulum, saying that 2,600 have surrendered and 50,000 orphans and widows have vested. And so says not all surrendered insurgents are criminals, no cause for alarm, he reassures. Now they're saying in context that it is better to give amnesty to Boko Haram or terrorists who have surrendered than to look at even proscribing the group as a terrorist group. I do not know if this is justice or if this is, you know, a total sway away from the true sense of Nigerianness.
It is insensitive, it is unjust, it is not fair to both the victims and to the rest of us Nigerians whose resources, collective resources, both in terms of material, financial and human resources that have been deployed to quench the fire in the northeast. It means we've died for nothing. It means those who killed us, those who destroyed our country, should now be given amnesty, blanket amnesty on a platter of gold, without even going back to the society to reverse, to roll back the very ideology that in the first place triggered the Boko Haram insurgency, which I've maintained was always and is always alive, is there, because it is useful to the political leadership of the region by way of political Islam. You know, when you created the institution of we versus them in terms of religion, and you make people to vote and align their democratic choices only along religious lines, it is beneficial to those who share their religion, especially the political leaders. They are unwilling to reverse this ideology, but they are uncomfortable with the fact that it has also cascaded into full-blown terrorism that respects nobody.
Yeah.
You cannot eat, you can have it. It has to be holistic. And the government must wage this war conclusively and decisively. The Second World War did not end because of amnesty to the Nazi forces of Germany or to the Japanese nation, no. An atomic weapon was used on Japan. It was dropped to Hiroshima, it was dropped to Nagasaki, and they threw up their hands in air and surrendered. The war was taken to Hitler's bunker, and he committed suicide and made sure he didn't surrender alive. And these countries signed unconditional surrender documents and agreed to the peace terms after the war. But this had to put an end to a war.
So they were brought to their knees.
Yes, to bring them to their knees
before
that is how a
discussing anything.
That is how a sovereign nation fights a war. People will argue that didn't America negotiate with Taliban? That is a problem that is domesticated in Afghanistan. It's an Afghan problem. America has nothing. They have achieved what they wanted to achieve right from 2001 because Taliban actually hosted their enemy, and they went to remove Taliban, removed both the enemy, and after about 10 years they killed the enemy in question, and since then we've not experienced another 9/11 in America. So they've achieved their aim. But if after a while they discover that, well, the Afghan people share the same beliefs with the Taliban, so what do you need to do? Simply call the Taliban and say, look, will you host terrorists again to come and attack us? And they said, no. Will you be peaceful and law-abiding? They said, no. Okay, I want to cover your country. So America does not negotiate. No state wants to negotiate with terrorists on home soil. You cannot negotiate with terrorists in areas where you do not have direct interest or where your national security is not affected. So in the case of Taliban, after 20 years, it's clear that they have become very good friends with Americans. So they are friends now. This is a problem in our own home soil. No serious country, no serious nation in the world negotiate with terrorists on home soil.
But Zulum has also said that if these people are not rehabilitated or given amnesty, that the insurgency could become worse. Is it not worse already?
Zulum is a frustrated governor. He's very frustrated. Zulum is speaking within the confines of the limitations of the federal government.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So he's just trying to say, okay, let us make the best of a very bad situation. It's as simple as that. I'm sure if you look at Zulum's antecedents, Zulum did not support initially some of this so-called amnesty, or he was not very enthusiastic about it. Even the senators from the state, the same thing, the traditional leaders also, they are not, and I must give credit to the leaders of Borno actually. They have shown that, look, we are ready to fight and we should fight these people to stand still. They are ready. But unfortunately, there are some drawbacks. We are massaging this issue. And I'm saying the region that is most affected is the region where our president comes from. And ordinarily should be seen to be doing the most, do more than what we are saying now to combat this twin evil of Boko Haram and harassment terrorism. Today, Nigeria is the third most terrorized country in the world. It is because of northern Nigeria. It's because of harassment terrorism and Boko Haram insurgency. In 2001, OPC, a Yoruba militant group, carried out attacks on Hausa community in Lagos. A Yoruba man was president. A Yoruba man was IGP. What did President Obasanjo do? He commanded. He gave an order and said, look, anybody that calls himself OPC, shoot him dead. They are a militant group. He denounced them and ordered his Yoruba IGP to fire at them. That was a period he actually acquired new ammunition, new arms for Nigerian police. So they were trigger happy. And so they carried out a counter attack on OPC. Obasanjo took those steps because he was a Yoruba man. He needed to show an example that he's not taking side with the ethnic group. He needed to show an example that he was elevating his nationality, his Nigerian citizenship, over his Yoruba ethnicity. And so we didn't have that problem escalate. It wasn't massaged. It wasn't hobnobbed. It wasn't justified in any way. And he clamped the leaders of OPC into prison. Gani Adams was, up until recently, Obasanjo has refused to sit with Gani Adams at any meeting, at any forum, up till recently. And when they met by accident in one of the Yoruba leaders' houses, Obasanjo expressed visions about meeting Gani Adams 20 years after. That is leadership. We've not seen that same kind of leadership under this president. The president is very quick to come to the defense of his kinsmen. And this is an issue we must talk about, no matter how they try to gag us. Yeah. This is the issue. You can't elevate your ethnicity over and above your nationality. You are the president and commander-in-chief. The entire country is a constituency. I don't understand why our president is more concerned about a non-existent gazetted grazing route across Nigeria. It is non-existent. It was simply a traditional route that cattle breeders pass from north to south, in their cyclic seasonal cycle of migration. It is as simple as that. The state government should be allowed to decide how to utilize their land without prejudice to external influence. We want to see our president becoming the president for all. This issue is going to consume us if he does not take the right steps now as commander-in-chief to stem it at this level. It's already getting late. The monster that was fed in Plateau, that was fed in Taraba and Benue, is now consuming
in southern Kaduna.
Is now consuming the entire northwest. These people are an army. According to Shegumi, their unofficial spokesman, they are 100,000 strong armed group. We have our citizens in their den as we speak. 6 children have died out of the over 100 Islamia children that were kidnapped in Nigeria. So we are forgetting completely about those ones. So for God's sake, for how long are we going to continue along this line? It's unfortunate. This does not happen anywhere. And we may not survive this until we all stand up, unite across this country.
Well, the only person that seems to have stepped up to speak out at the very high echelon of the government is the Chief of Defense Staff, Lucky Irabo, yesterday in Yola. He says the incident in Kaduna, quoting him directly, has been undertaken by bandits, but it is more of an armed robber coming to your house. I really don't understand what that means. The infiltration did not come by virtue of the normal banditry.
What is normal about any form of banditry?
I don't understand. Trying to decode this statement like an armed robber coming to your house.
Why should an armed robber even attempt?
This is not a house. This is a fortified place. This is suicidal.
So anybody who's willing to go in there and commit this level of suicide is a terrorist. I am saying...
Is there a particular message they're trying to send? Because, I mean, when... groups like this take up this kind of action, chances are most likely they want to send a particular message that, look, don't think we're ragtag or something.
No, they're becoming emboldened. They have weapons. The same weapon you are carrying as Nigerian army, they have it. The only thing they don't have is the Navy and the Air Force. They have weapons. Because, you see, there's a problem. The government of the day is fixated on this narrative, this flawed, fallacious narrative, that what we're having is the farmer herders clashes. And so, under that cover of farmer herders clashes, they are making it look like it's the situation of true fighting. Go and read the president's speech When he reacted to the killings in the Northwest recently, he talked about people of same culture and language killing each other. So to him, it's a tribal warfare. It's like two people are fighting. The president has not realized that no two people are fighting. One group is killing the other. And at best, some people are trying to simply defend themselves, which is within their rights. You can't equate both. You can't make it look as if they are the same. And this
is his comprehension of the matter based on the brief he's given by the people
I
around?
don't think there's no
or
brief.
just what he feels.
I think it is a mindset that has been there. Remember, our president went to Oyo in the early days of the Fourth Republic. Remember that incident when there was former harass clashes in the Kyogun area of Oyo, and the president declared to Lamadation that your people killed my people. And the late governor Additional said, no, as a former head of state, they are all your people. Rather, we should be looking for how to solve this problem. So you can see a mindset. The president has consistently made moves that show that if you do not give up your land, there will be no peace. Again, this recent attempt at reviving grazing routes, the water bill, we have seen a lot of executive instruments that tend to show that, okay, the present thinking is that to solve this problem is to actually give, herdsmen access to land. And I'm saying herdsmen in Nigeria already have access to land in various communities. I grew up in a community where you have Fulani cattle breeders that are indigenous across the country. The problem is invaders, marauders. You cannot in 21st century insist on maintaining your cultural occupation of nomadic cattle breeding system that makes you live, the arid region of Nigeria, Sahara region of Nigeria during the wet seasons. Seasonal movement between north and south, depending on where the pasture is greener. You cannot do this any longer. We're saying ranching. We are saying adopt modern ways
and
of cattle breeding. What is so difficult in this?
It's quite alarming because you see a paper running with the lead saying that they fell under mysterious sleep and that these bandits have lived peacefully, in inverted comma, around the facility, and you are wondering if you could identify they are living that close. Why haven't you reined in on them before this
even
incident?
happened?
If you look at activities of Sheikh Gumi, for example, he goes into their den and he tries to portray them as freedom fighters. And each time somebody brings this narrative that somebody has encroached upon their grazing routes, they're trying to give an excuse for why they've taken up arms as a means of substituted livelihood. And so they are, in some quarters, they are treated as freedom fighters. And we have said that Kaduna is host to Nigeria's major defense infrastructure and shouldn't be in such a state of insecurity. Now, even their own facilities have been attacked. Because these people have no allegiance to anybody. Unfortunately, anybody who's taking sides with them on the basis of ethnicity should know that. They have no allegiance to you. And so in the further analysis, all of us as Nigerians, if truly you're a Nigerian, no matter the position occupied in this country, if you're a Nigerian, please let us band together and fight our common enemies. These people are our common enemies. They're not doing this because of grazing routes. No amount of grazing routes can give them the kind of money they're making from abduction of people, of rustling of human beings.
And payment of ransom.
We'll just have to let it go at this